Hello, I'm Scotty Boman, Libertarian for Secretary of State. One of the greatest threats to our liberty and privacy is an attempt to make identification documentation into a tool to build an international database. This database could then be used to track every citizen's movements and purchases. Participation would be required to buy or sell. To stop this, I would reject the Real ID Act, PASS Act, or any other attempt to make state documents into de facto national ID cards. I would end the use of RFID chips in driver's licenses and state ID. I would minimize the collection of biometric information at a minimal level of resolution. I would destroy used or extraneous personal information that could be otherwise abused. And I would refuse to share information with external organizations without having your informed consent. Currently, some Secretary of State services have been delegated to private businesses. Some car dealerships, for instance, can handle titles, registrations, and license plates for vehicles they sell. I believe customers could be better served if the Secretary of State would simply certify private offices that would perform the duties of government-run branch offices. The model would be similar to a franchise. The business would have to meet or exceed the same standards that exist for branch offices. These standards would be especially strict in matters of privacy and accessibility. Offices that fail to live up to Secretary of State standards would lose the franchise. We could also delegate driver's testing to schools approved by the driver's insurance company. Meanwhile, traditional services would remain available as needed. I say scrap driver's responsibility fees. People who fail to buy insurance probably do so because of a lack of sufficient funds. Placing this financial burden on the same people only makes it more likely that they will continue to drive without insurance. They should, however, be held accountable for the damages they cause. Furthermore, the driver's responsibility fees are also imposed on people who are fully insured but accumulate a certain number of points. In some cases, points are accumulated while driving on revenue roads or being caught in traffic traps. As it is, driver's insurance premiums go up. There is no need for the government to augment such expenses. These fees hurt those who are poorest. Wealthier drivers can afford legal counsel to challenge traffic tickets and have no problem paying fines or high insurance rates if they lose in court. Those struggling to drive to work in this depressed economy are devastated when they're caught in the same violations and this draconian practice. I support no reason absentee voting. We should go ahead and make this official. Absentee voting is already a reality. At present, it is common for people to lie if their actual reason isn't among the approved choices. Removing this restriction would have little effect beyond removing an incentive for people to lie. Unless a voter can show indigence, postage is the voter's responsibility. I would also institute new fraud reduction strategies. These could include requiring proof of citizenship to register to vote. Such evidence may include a digital birth certificate, which would not be linked to any other information about the person and would expire at the time of death. It would only serve as a way to verify a person's voting eligibility as a U.S. citizen. Requiring able-bodied absentee voters to pick up or retain ballots in person would also help prevent fraud and present identification when the ballots are either picked up or dropped off. Use personalized identification numbers or PINs to verify the ballots are being submitted by a person to whom it is attributed. This would especially be helpful for those who cannot get the ballots in person but must get them by mail. The recent flap over the petition to create a new political party called the Tea Party highlights the need to have a Secretary of State who is beholden not to either major political party. When the Board of Canvassers voted on whether or not to place the Tea Party on the ballot, the vote was split right down party lines. Republicans had something to lose by the inclusion of the party, and Democrats had something to gain. Upon taking office, I would not only be neutral about the major parties, but would resign my links to the Libertarian Party, thus removing any doubts about impartiality in such matters. The current Republican Secretary of State has been slow to post information about minor party candidates. I would post all candidate and political party filings by the end of the business day after the information was filed. I would also post all petition-related filings as soon as they were approved by the Board of Canvassers. I support an end to taxpayer-funded primaries. Instead, political parties could nominate by conventions or caucuses. If they still prefer to select candidates by primary elections, participating political parties could choose to fund and administer the primaries themselves. I believe we should stop forcing taxpayers to pay for gubernatorial campaigns. We could raise revenue without increasing mandatory fees by instituting competitive bidding for personalized license plates. When drivers select personalized license plates, they would enter a bid at or above the base cost. If more than one driver made the same selection, the person with the highest bid would get what they selected. Thank you, and I hope you consider voting for me on November 2nd. Please find out more at scottyboman.org, SCOTTYBOMAN.org.